Shalom, shalom. Mic check here. Mic check, mic check. Is everybody good? Can you hear me? Yeah, shalom, 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 everyone. Just gonna, you guys hear me? Okay, am I coming through okay? Shalom, shalom, shalom. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom. Can you guys just doing a quick mic check? Shalom, shalom. Can you guys we're just doing a quick mic check. You guys, can you hear me? Good. Yeah, good. No, yeah. Good. All right. All right. All right, cool, cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So again, shalom, shalom, everyone. I want to welcome you all to the King James Bible University. And I am Deacon Sheldon. And today I will be going through the daily law and meditation study. Uh-huh. It's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. So in this lesson, we're going to be looking at the manna from the heaven and spiritual bread, the substance of the spiritual mind. All right, cool, cool. So, just a little side note here before we begin. We here at the King James Bible University and the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel, the House of Jehovah. We don't associate with any Christian or camp doctrines and organizations, nor any Black Israelite power movement groups. We have to let it be known there's a clear separation between us and them. We don't mix over here. Right? We study from the one book, the original 1611 King James Bible with the Apocrypha. Now, with that being said, we're gonna jump right into it. So, in the last week daily law and meditation study, we looked at the Ark of the Covenant and the heart of Jehovah, the dwelling place of divine law. All right. So again, I'm just doing a quick recap, and then we're gonna jump into today's lesson. So we said the ark, how the word is moving and functioning. We said the ark is the desired, right? The similitude, the habitation, the desired haven, the border, a chest, a sanctuary, and a vessel. And also we looked at the word covenant. We said the covenant, it's an agreement or a promise. We also look at the word the heart, and we see the heart is the will, the desire, reasoning, or the transformation of mind. And it's the faith and the belief. So I'm just giving you how these words are moving and functioning in our keyword spiritual dictionary. We also looked at it on a carnal side, and we said that the Ark of the Covenant was a physical wooden box overlaid with literal gold, carried by priests on poles, used to store stones, tablets, and a jar of physical bread, right? The carnal mind views it as a magical artifact or a mere historical relic of ancient Israelite Israel's wilderness journey, right? And also spiritually, we said that the ark is the spiritual vessel of the mind that has been completely enveloped by the divine nature, making it a suitable sanctuary for the law. The ark is the habitation and desired similitude of Jehovah's own heart, right? And we also looked at, we said that we can see only have the ark of the covenant rested within us, after first bringing a prepared vessel. So this vessel, we have to bring a prepared body and mind unto Jehovah, offered at your own will, right? Let me pull up the scriptures here. We also looked at Exodus. Let me pull this up. Cool. We went to Exodus. I said this is just a brief recap of what we looked at last week's study. We went to Exodus 25 and 8, where it tells us, it says, let us, and it says, and let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. And we also looked at Exodus. Let me just one over here. Exodus chapter 25 and 10. Exodus 25 and 10. And we looked at and they shall make an ark of shittim wood. So that's what was our key focus, this shittim wood. And we said that keep in mind that we are created in the image and the likeness of Jehovah. He seeks to dwell among us. He gave us his way unto a people and commanded them that we make a vessel unto him, that he may dwell there. So again, this is the shittim wood. So this shittim wood is a vessel that represents the similitude of Jehovah's image, bearing his likeness and resemblance, overlaid with gold and purity of doctrines and pure in mind, right? So our vessel, right? Our vessel should be bearing the habitation and desire of Jehovah's own heart. When Jehovah looks upon you or me, he should see his word, his spirit within us. And just as when other people see us, they should see Jehovah as well. So again, that was last week's lesson. And in this study, again, we're going to be looking at the manna from heaven and the spiritual bread, the substance of the spiritual mind. So we see here that within that vessel sits the ark of God, the desire of God, the manna from heaven, and spiritual bread is what that vessel is going to feed on. That substance, that fuel, the spiritual mind that includes learning of his doctrine, having his statutes and commandments and laws within your heart and mind. But believing in them and keeping them, you will see is key. So before I started out, I want to just touch on as we go through this lesson, I was gonna start out with a few key verses. And the first one I'm gonna go to, we're gonna touch on is Numbers 23. I'm gonna hit 19. Just want to pull it up so you guys can see it. And we're also going to look at Malachi chapter 3 and 6. So I just want to prove it up here and we can all agree on this. So it says, Numbers 23:19, it says, God is not a man that he should lie, neither the Son of Man that he should repent. Have he said, and shall he not do it? Or have he spoken, and shall he not make it good? We're also gonna look at, let me see 1 second here. We're gonna look at Malachi. And here we're gonna look at Malachi chapter 3 and 6. And it reads, it says, "For I am the Lord, I change not." So here we can all agree that the Spirit of God, he changes not, right? He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. So can we all agree on that, right? Can we all agree on that? You can put an I in the chat. If you put a no, I'm really not sure what to tell you. So can we all agree on that, that the Spirit of God, he don't change, right? And this is not a trick question or anything. We just want to agree so we can move on down. So we can see also in all right, cool, cool, cool. So let's go, let's get some more of this. So again, this is just our opening scriptures. Oh, give me 1 second here, guys. All right, all right, shalom. All right. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So where are we? So yes, we said we're gonna go to Isaiah 55 and 11. Isaiah 55 and 11. And it reads, it says, "So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the things whereto I sent it." So we see here God, he's not a man that he should lie. He's a spirit. So we know Jehovah shows us the invisible things of him through his creation. And we know that these are similitudes. But as I go down in this lesson, this is all gonna make sense to you. So that's why I want to start out with these main verses. However, so we know that men lie. We lie to ourselves, to each other, deceiving ourselves. We see that all his words that goeth forward is meaning it must. So shall, I'm just saying shall, so it means it must accomplish that which pleaseth him and prosper in the things in which he sent it. So that thing is that vessel, right? That thing is that vessel. And we know he doesn't change for nothing, right? So let's get some more on what he told us. And we're gonna go to Second Chronicles. We're gonna hit 6 and 6. Second Chronicles 6 and 6. And it says, "But I have chosen Jerusalem, a separated people, that my name, that my way might be there, and have chosen David to be over my people Israel." Right? We're also gonna look at Psalms. We're gonna look at Psalms 147. Sorry, Psalms 147. We're gonna hit 19 and 20 and say, "He showeth his words," right? Keep in mind these words, "unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments, so his doctrines and teaching unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation, and as far as his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. So Jehovah shows his word, his statute, meaning his truth, his ways, his truth, right? His laws and his again his doctrines and teaching. Also his cultural language to a specific people. Now, I have a question I want to ask you guys, right? And there's a meaning behind it. But again, as we go down in this lesson, everything gonna make completely sense to you guys, right? So my question to you guys is, right? So who likes to eat out, right? Who likes eating out? Going to the fast food restaurants to get food and all these things. Who likes to do that? You can put an eye in it, put a name if you like to eat at home, that's all good and well. I'm saying I'm guilty of that. I notice. Do you notice? Have you noticed? I mean, I know a lot of us get some oxtail and some curry goat, you know what I'm saying? So we see some people eye, some people name, all right, that's cool. But do you notice that a lot of us, we do like to eat out and not to eat at home? As I said, as we go down in the lesson, this is going to make, complete sense to you. So, have you guys ever meditated on it? Why that is? Have you guys ever meditated on it? Why that is? Fast food, you know, restaurants, it's convenient, it's fast, the intoxicating smells, the location, all strategies used to lure us in. I mean, it do not require much effort to obtain it. We go, we order what we want. I know we got these Uber apps and DoorDash and Grubs and all these different platforms you can, order food from. You know, we so what we do, we order what we want from their menu, pay the money, and we enjoy our make-believe reality as though we choose this ourselves. We chose from their menu, from their choices, right? So spiritually, it shows we have a huge appetite for the doctrines of this world rather than making a nice meal yourself at home or taking the effort to put in the work to make it as enjoyable as the outside food. We crave that 5 to 10 minutes satisfaction of eating out. So as again, as we go down more, this is all gonna make sense to you. So first, we're gonna be looking at First Chronicles. I'm sorry, First Corinthians, and we're gonna look at 11, and we're going to 34, and it says, "And if provided any man hunger, it says, let him eat at home, that ye come not together under condemnation, and the rest I will set in order when I come." We're also going to tie in one other scripture to this. We're going to tie in Second Thessalonians. We're going to hit 2 and 3. And it says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall come, except there come a falling away first, that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." So the son of perdition, we know that that's the servant of Satan, right? So Jehovah tells us to learn at home that we come not together unto condemnation or judgment, which puts us in a situation to desire any other doctrine than his. Eat your own food at home so that you do not become damned or cursed by indulging in the worldly food, those carnal doctrines, right? And let no man deceive you, because man lies to you, and that's how we deceive ourselves. Believing the lie they tell you. They're feeding us their menu, their beliefs, their philosophies. When Jehovah ordained his bread for us to eat, right? Now we're going to be open up with our main scripture for the day in this lesson. And we're going to be looking at Exodus chapter 16 and 15. That's Exodus 16 and 15. And it reads and it says, "And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, it is manna, right? For they rest not what it was. And Moses said unto them, this is the bread which the Lord have given you to eat." So uh, we need to ask ourselves, right? This is the question we need to ask ourselves. What is the reason or purpose of Jehovah sending his manna to us? We need to ask ourselves why, right? Why? The reason or purpose Jehovah sending his manna to us, right? We're gonna jump up for a little bit, and then afterwards I'm gonna dive into these. I'll just break it down so give a more clarity on it. So we're gonna go to Exodus chapter 16 and 4, and it reads, it says, "Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day." Why? You gotta ask yourself these questions. Why we have to go out every day and gather a certain rate, right? But it says I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no, right? Just gonna jump back down to 16. And we go here 16, and we go down to 18, and it reads, it says, "This is the thing which the Lord have commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating." We're gonna find out all of this, right? "An omer for every man according to the number of your persons. Take ye every man for them which are in his tent." And the children of Israel did so and gathered some more and some less. Verse 18, and he reads and it says, "And when they did make it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating." Right. So I also put up this image here just to show that a lot of times when we hear God gonna be raining down bread from heaven, a lot of us carnally, this is the first thing that comes to our mind. So carnally, a lot of people read this verse and think, oh, God is raining down physical bread from heaven. But keep in mind, God is a spirit. Right? So to teach us on how we must follow him, he must show us a physical representation of the spiritual truth. Right? So let's go back and break some of these words down to get a clearer and better understanding of what I just read. So we're going to this one and this one. All right, cool, cool, cool. So we go looking at here, we're going to go up to 4 and start breaking this down so you guys can get a clear understanding. So he says, "And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, I will reign." So we need to break some of these words down, see how these words is moving and functioning in scriptures. So then we can get a clearer and better understanding of what's being said, right? So the word reign, it means, and how it's moving and functioning in the spiritual keyword dictionaries. You can look at it as blessing, pouring down, shower, or spiritual teachings, right? And also we look at the word bread, right? So spiritually, it's the knowledge and the doctrine. We're just going to use that there. And also for the word heaven, this is the spiritual realm, the mind, the exalted state, and the kingdom. So I just want to tell you guys this. So as we go down in this lesson, you're going to be hearing this a lot. So when I go down, as we go down and I'm reading, you guys are able to understand of what's being said. So here we can see that we must gather a fixed rate every day. Earlier on, I asked a question. What is the purpose that Jehovah sends us his knowledge, his doctrine? We can see in verse 4 that he's going to prove us, he's going to test us whether we will live in the truth, his ways, or no. Also to know if you are worthy to enter into his kingdom or no, right? Let's see an example of this rain, his blessing pouring down. And to see this, we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 2:32, and we're going to hit 1 and 2. And it says, "Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, my words out of my mouth." So that's why I start out with those scriptures in the beginning, right? So verse 2, and it says, "My doctrine, right, shall drop as rain. My speech shall distill as the dew, as a small rain upon tender herbs, and as the showers upon the grass." So we know that earth is the people. And we're going to tie one more to this. We're going to be looking at Psalms 78, and we're going to hit 24 and 25. And it says, "And had rained it down manna." So we looked at the word manna in a little bit. So manna upon them to eat. So we know upon them to eat, to learn, and had given them the corn of heaven. So we need to find out what is this corn. This corn, how it's moving and functioning in the spiritual dictionary. We know that corn is the bread, right? It's the seed or the abundance on provision, the nourishment, right? And also, if we go down to 25, it says, "Man did eat." So man did learn of the angels' food. He sent them meat. So this meat is also talking about the bread, the substance, the doctrine to the full. And if we also look at, I'm gonna leave that right there. If we also looked at Isaiah, just looking at this rain pouring down, right? This knowledge. So Isaiah 55 and 10, it tells us, "For as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but it watereth the earth." So it's going to water it, the people, "and make it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower." So the sower to the feeder, "and bread to the eater." So the eater is that learner, right? So back over to Exodus 16 and 4, when it says right here that when the children, when Israel saw it, I'm sorry, down to 16, 15, and it says, "And when the children of Israel saw it." So here we can see that this is what they saw or understood, how this doctrine shall drop as blessing, right? As wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? So, a lot of times when we see the rain falling, people will just say, "Oh, rain is falling," and But really, it's a similitude, right? The Most High is showing us that He's pouring out His blessing on the earth, on the people, that it may give knowledge to the learner, that the Word of God planted in us, right? Once it gets watered, it should bring forth a lifestyle of Jehovah, right? So keep in mind this rain, this knowledge, this doctrine, right? It shall pour out on the just and the unjust, right? And it shall overturn and overturn until whose right it is. And to see an example of this, I was led to go to Matthew. We're gonna go to Matthew chapter 5, and we're gonna hit 45. We're not going too fast here. Matthew chapter 5 and 45. And it says that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good. And this is the key. And he says, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. And we also gonna go to Ezekiel to see this overturning, right? So Ezekiel chapter 21 and 27. And it tells us, Ezekiel chapter 21 and 27. And it reads, it says, I will and overturn it, and it shall be no more until he comes whose right it is, and I will give it him. Right? So in Exodus 16 and 15, again, it says, and when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, it is manna. So we need to find out, what is this manna, right? How is it functioning? How is it moving, right? To get a clearer and better understanding. And it says, for they rest not. So we got to find out they rest not. What is it? What it was? And Moses said unto them, this is the bread which the Lord giveth you to eat. So we know, let's start with the word manna, right? So manna, how it's moving and functioning as, manna is the bread from heaven, the knowledge from heaven, angels' food, in our angels' bread, right? And we see here rest, this word right here, it says they rest not. So they knew not, they understood not, or they comprehend not what it was, right? And again, we looked at bread. So I'm just gonna say it again, reiterate it. So bread is that knowledge, that doctrine, right? And to eat, to learn. So we see here that we knew not, they comprehend not, they understood not what the manna from God was. You can even look at it in today's time, where you have, our pastor or the elders, the evangelists, the deacons, and the brothers who are putting out these teachings and lessons, right? Feeding the people with this manna, with this bread, with this knowledge, with this angel food, with this one doctrine. A lot of our people, we still don't believe it, right? They're not comprehending nor understood the ways of Jehovah. But the fact that you never understood shows your unbelief from the beginning. So also keep in mind that this manna is also come to humbly. All right. This manna has also come to humbly. And to see this example of this humbling, we're going to go back to the law, right? We're going to be in the law a lot. So I'm going to look at Deuteronomy chapter 8, and we're going to take out 3. And it says, and he humbleth thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna. All right, we know what that manna is now, right? When we're reading it, with this manna which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doeth not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of the Lord doeth man live. And we're gonna jump down to 16, right? 16, Deuteronomy 8:16, and it says, "Who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, which thy fathers knew not, that he might humble thee, and that he might prove thee to do thee good at thy later end." So again, so carnally, manna was a physical substance that appears on the ground like frost. It's manna, which the Israelite gathered the ground and baked into literal cakes to stop their physical stomachs from starving in a literal desert. So just to see an example of this frost, we're going to be looking at, I'm going to leave that over there, Exodus 16 and 14. We're going to see an example of this frost, right? And if you look up the word in your spiritual keyword dictionary, you can see the meaning, how the word is moving and functioning, right? So 16:14, and it says, "And when the dew that laid was gone up, remember, upon the face of the wilderness, there laid a small round thing, as small as a hoar frost on the ground," right? So we see the word frost is the cold or freeze, but the carnal mind, right? The carnal mind seeks physical provision and material blessing as the primary sign of Jehovah's favor, right? So we see that the carnal mind seeks physical provision and material blessing as a primary sign of Jehovah's favor. And to get an example of this carnal mind enjoys, we're going to look at Timothy. We're going to look at Timothy. We're going to look at Timothy chapter, First Timothy chapter 6 and 5. And it reads, "Perverse disputing of men of corrupt minds and destitute of the truth, supposing that gain is godliness. From such withdraw thyself." Right? And we also gonna see that we must withdraw ourselves from these kinds of people. They believe if you have riches of the world, God is blessing you. And that's not true. Jehovah never promised us material gains, but this is the thing he promised. And then to see this, we're going to go to Exodus 19. We're going to hear 5 through 6. And it says, "Now, therefore, for this reason, if ye obey my voice indeed in these works, and keep my covenant, you keep my agreement, then ye shall be a particular treasure unto me above all people. All the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel." We also gonna look at Genesis, just to tie it in, and then we're gonna take a look at this manna. So Genesis 28, and we're gonna hit 20 and 21, and it says, "And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat. So this bread, we talk about this bread, right? To eat, to learn, and raiment. So this raiment is the covering to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace. Then shall the Lord be my God. So the wealthy treasure Jehovah promised us was always the spiritual treasure, his covering, his manna, peace with the Father, understanding how to pass through this wilderness, this matrix in this wilderness. All right. I know I said a mouthful, but before I go any further, I just want to do a quick check. If everybody's okay following us so far. Is everybody good? You can leave an eye. If no, I'm gonna ask Sister Tanisha later on to just put my email in there. So if anybody have any question or anything, you can just send it there. All right, everybody's good so far. All right, I'm just gonna keep moving. Yeah. All right. Cool. 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 So on the other side, we're gonna be looking at the spiritual manna, spiritually, right? So spiritually, all right. Cool. Cool. So spiritually, manna, right? So this is the key to understand, right? So manna is the knowledge from heaven, the angel's food, that substance, the inner man. The bread is the doctrine and wisdom of Jehovah. The wilderness is the state of mind. And when it is stripped of worldly philosophies and the carnal comfort, in this barren place, the soul must be fed directly from the heaven. And the heaven is of the spiritual realm, receiving daily revelation that cannot be stored up or hoarded by human effort. Right? So the carnal mind despises the spiritual bread. And I just want you guys to key in on hold it right there, because we're gonna look at the carnal mind despises this spiritual bread, eventually crying out for leeks and onions and flesh pot of Egypt. The heavenly toxic doctrines of the world. But the spiritual mind understands that the man shall not live by physical bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Jehovah. This heavenly doctrine must be gathered fresh every morning. Yesterday's revelation will breed worms of pride and stagnation if relied upon for today's journey, right? So I told you guys to I know I said a mouthful there, but we're gonna reiterate it down in this lesson. So I told you guys to keep in mind the carnal mind despise the spiritual bread. And we're gonna take a look at that just to see an example of how, you know, a person who despise the spiritual bread, right? So to see this, the first thing, we do is we're gonna murmur. Right? That's the first thing we're gonna do. We're gonna murmur. They're going to speak against the word, right? Wanting to return back to bondage again, right? And to see this example, we're gonna see this of the carnal mind, person who despise spiritual bread. So we're gonna go to Exodus. I'm gonna leave that right there. Exodus chapter 16, and we're gonna hit 2 and 3. And it reads, and it says, and the whole congregation of the children of Israel, they murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. Verse 3, and it says, and the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we have died in the hands of the Lord in the land of Egypt, in Egypt in confusion and bondage, right? It says, when we sat by the flesh pots and when we did eat, so they did learn of this bread to the full. Amen. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Right. So just to give a little more clarity on this. So we make ourselves believe the path of Jehovah is so difficult to follow, right? We make the path of Jehovah so difficult to follow that we rather stay in bondage where we can eat freely, we can learn freely to our heart's content, being deceived that we make our own choices when the world makes it for you. Rather than experiencing the truth, we rather be in an altered state of mind, numb to the truth, and then remain sober and vigilant, feeding on this spiritual bread, but we always lusting to go right back to this flesh and return back to be servants of the flesh, right? So we're still going to be looking at someone who is we're still going to be looking at someone, right? Someone who is of the carnal mind, who despises this spiritual bread. And to see another example, we're going to go to Nehemiah. Nehemiah, and we're going to hit 9 and 26, right? And he reads, it says, nevertheless, right? They were disobedient and rebelled against thee, and cast thy law behind their backs, and slew thy prophets. So they slew the mouthpieces, which testified against them to turn them to thee, and they wrought great provocation. Right? So let's see who was it that was disobedient and rebelled, right? So this is the question. We're gonna see who was it that was disobedient and rebelled. And to see this, we're gonna go to Judges, right? Judges 2 and 11. We're gonna see who was being disobedient and rebel. And it says, and and the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and served Balaam, right? Verse 12, and it says, and they forsook the Lord, God of their fathers, which brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods of the gods of the people that were round and about them, and bowed down themselves unto them. And you see, and provoked the Lord to anger. So those were just a few examples to show you that someone who is rooted and grounded to the carnal nature of the flesh, they will never adhere to the knowledge and wisdom of Jehovah. They will forsake it and cast his words behind their back, right? So that was on one side. Now, on the other side, now let's look at someone who is spiritual minded, right? And someone who is spiritual minded, they seek the things that comes from above. They're gonna seek out the knowledge, the wisdom, and understanding. Well, for what? And we see that they're gonna be seeking out the heavenly angels' food. Oh my goodness, that sustain the inner man, that bread which coming down from Jehovah. And to see this, we're gonna go to Matthew. And I'm pressing for time here. What's going on here? Time cat almost got me. uh Matthew chapter 6, and we're gonna look at 33. I was like, what? It says, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you, right? And just to get another one, we're gonna see this spiritual minded. And Isaiah 34:16, and it reads, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read, right? So we see that's being a spiritual minded person. They're gonna seek out the things and to gain that wisdom, that knowledge, and that understanding. Also, if we go to Rome, if we go to Exodus, I'm sorry, Ezekiel's chapter 3. Yeah, Ezekiel's chapter 3 and 1. It says, moreover, he said unto me, son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak to the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat. So again, to eat that roll. So we know eat is to learn. So we're gonna learn this role. So this word role, how it's moving and functioning in the spiritual keyword dictionary, it's gonna be a scroll, the book, the manna, the wisdom, the knowledge, and understanding. So that is why I was led to go to Isaiah 34:16 to see that's what we're gonna eat. We have to learn, right? So we're also gonna be looking at Baruch, Baruch chapter 3, and we're gonna hit 3 to 14. And it reads, it says, learn where is wisdom, where is strength, where is understanding, that thou mayest know also where in the length of days and life, where is the light of the eyes and peace. Right? So okay, so now we're going to be going over to John, first what time? John chapter 6 and 32. John chapter 6 and 32 and 33. And it says, then Jesus said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. Verse 33, it says, for the bread of God is he which cometh down from heaven and giveth life unto the world. So again, we must ask ourselves, what is the reason or purpose of Jehovah sending his manna unto us? This verse says Moses gave you not that bread from heaven, right? Because Moses was our schoolmaster, our teacher to bring us unto Christ. So now, I was having a conversation with Pastor Michael, and he was able to break down and give me, a greater understanding of this verse. And, he asked me one, he asked me one key thing. And, I would like to share that with you, right? So he asked, who is the better teacher? Is it Moses or Jesus, right? So who is the better teacher, Moses or Jesus? So we know that the Spirit of God speak with Moses face to face, right? So let's look at where he led me to go. So we went to Leviticus chapter 11, 1 down to 4, right? Verse 1, and it reads, and the Lord speak unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying unto them, speak. So before I even read this verse 2 here, before I even read it, I was told to use this word right here, speak, right here with caution. And this is a warning, right? Why? I don't want anyone to get tripped up or stumble or in error, right? So if anyone sees this and starts using it in their teaching or in their lessons, saying what this word means, your video will be taken down or you will get a phone call. So please, what I mean, use with caution. Speak with the pastor for clarity, right? So we see verse 2, this word speak, speak, also use it as teach, right? So he says, teach unto the children of Israel, saying, these are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Right, verse 3. And it says, whatsoever parteth the huff and is cloven footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. So we talk about what eat is, right? So we know what I'm saying. Verse 4, it says, nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that cheweth the cud, or of them that divided the huff, as compared to camel, because he chewed the cud and divided not the huff, he is unclean unto you. So, so here we see that Moses was our schoolmaster. His method of teaching was more so is a hands-on approach, right? Moses can take you in the wilderness and show you a physical animal, a goat or a sheep or, a camel, all these beasts that we can learn from and what we should not learn from. So we can learn how to discern, right? What is clean from the unclean. And you are able to understand carnally to where now you can get it spiritually, right? So, and if you look at now with Jesus, he's going to give you a deeper parable, right? A dark speech or a deep spiritual mysteries or a method, right? So he's going to first break you off, right? He's going to break you off and you got to figure it out. So that's why in Matthew, right? I just want to show this in chapter Matthew chapter 13. Matthew chapter 13, and we're going to look at 34. And it says, all these things which spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables, right? And without a parable speak he not unto them. So if you don't know or understand the deeper spiritual of these dark speeches, right, you won't understand what he's saying fully. That is why we must start with the basic, which is the law. So again, I just wanted to reiterate it here that the verse saying, Moses give you not the bread from heaven. This is because Moses was our schoolmaster, our teacher to bring us unto Christ. But once faith comes and you believe on the way, Christ is the true bread that giveth life. In walking in that lifestyle, you obtain life. He sent his word, his bread, his manna, his law, that sin may be revealed unto us, that we might come to the understanding of how to get rid of it as we pass through this matrix where we face these tests and trials of our proving, right? And to just to give more clarity on this, we're going to go to Galatians chapter 3, and we're going to look at 24 and 25, where it tells us, it says, wherefore the law was our schoolmaster, right? To bring us unto Christ that we may be justified by faith. 25, it says, but after that faith is come, we are no longer under the schoolmaster. Just to tie one more in, we're going to go to Romans, and then Romans chapter 3 and 19. And it says, now we know that what things soever the law saith, it saith to them who are under the law, that every mouth may be stopped, and all the world may become guilty before God. Verse 20, and it says, therefore, for this reason, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin. So, just to give some more clarity on this, we see no flesh, right? No flesh shall be made to give an excuse in the sight of Jehovah's commandments, because the law purpose was to reveal the sin and to teach us, right? We're also going to look at the bread which cometh down. So we're going to be looking at John chapter 6 and 58, where it says, this is that bread which came down from heaven, not as your father did eat manna and are dead. He that eateth of this bread shall live forever. So just to give a little bit more clarity on this, man, this is that bread, that knowledge, that doctrine which came down from heaven, that spiritual realm, right? Not as our forefather did learn the knowledge from heaven and are dead. So they are dead, meaning they are, huh? Okay. So they are separated from God. He that learneth of this doctrine shall live forever. And just to show or give more clarity on um, our forefathers, we can go to First Corinthians. First Corinthians, we're going to hit 10, and we're going to go 1 down to 6, right? Just to get more understanding of our forefathers, right? So it tells us, it says, moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the clouds, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized, were all condemned unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea. And it says, and did all eat the same spiritual meat. We touched on that word meat, right? That bread, that knowledge, right? That doctrine. And did all drink that same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock, so this rock, it was Christ. Verse 5, and it says, but with many of them, so this is the key right here, right? But with many of them, God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Verse 6, it says, now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things, as comparing they also lusted. So to give more clarity on this, so our forefathers were under the law, given the knowledge of God, but never applied it to their life, which is why they were dead. And You see right here in verse 5, it says, but with many of them, God was not well pleased, right? So why? Because they were overthrown in the wilderness. Let's get a one more to go with this one. We're going to go to Romans chapter 3 and 3. And it says, for what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect? Verse 4 tell you, I just need it right here. It says, God forbid. So no, right? We right. So let's keep that in mind as we go down. So another key thing is it says over here, it says um in John. Let me go back to John over here. Let me put it over here. I'm sorry. Let's go to John over here. John 6 and 58. I move it over there. I shouldn't have moved it because I want you guys to see what's going on. So right here, 58, when it talks about that bread which came down from heaven, right? We're gonna go to let me use this one. John. We're gonna look at John 6 and 51. Just so you guys can see side by side and you guys can follow along and understand what's being said. So right here, John chapter 6, 51, it tells you, I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat, right? So if any man learn of this doctrine, he shall live forever. And that bread that I will give is my flesh. We got to understand what this is saying right here. This I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. And just to show you what it's talking about right here with this flesh, I will give is my flesh. To get more understanding or clarity on this, we're gonna go back to the law in Leviticus chapter 17 and 11, where it talks about, it says, for the life of the flesh is in the blood. So we know that this blood, it represents, the lifestyle, right? And it says, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls. So this word atonement is talking about to be restoration, right? For your souls. For it is the blood that maketh atonement for the soul. And we also, when we were saying this word came down from heaven, also, we also looked at, just to get some more clarity on that word came down, we're going to go to Wisdom of Solomon, 18:15. And it says, thy almighty word lead down from heaven out of thy royal throne as a fierce man of war into the midst of the land of destruction. So here we can see that Christ came forth from the Father and they are one. Not to do his own will, but the will of the Father as a fierce man of war, right? And to get another clarity on this, we're gonna go to John chapter 4, because he says 14. John chapter 14 and 10. Because he says, I came not down to do my own will, but the will of the Father. That's the key right there. So to see this, we're going to hit 14, John 14 and 10. And it tells us, believest thou not that I am in the Father and the Father in me, right? The words that I speak unto you, I speak none of myself, but the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. So again, just to give more clarity on it. So that word, that knowledge, that doctrine of God has come to give us life, that we may be one with the Father, and to open our understanding and to turn us from darkness to light and from the power of Satan unto God. And because the life of the flesh is in the blood, Jehovah tells us to eat his flesh. So we are to learn of that manna, then apply that lifestyle to your life for an atonement, for a restoration. Also, keep in mind that we are not to learn the wisdom that man teaches, right? Man's wisdom descendeth not from above, but it's earthly, it's sensual. So, sensual is meaning it's deceitful, lustfulness, and devilish, right? So, to get more understanding on this, we're going to go to First Corinthians chapter 2, 11 down to 13. And it reads, oh man, it says, for what man knoweth the things of a man, save only the spirit of man, which is in him, right? Even so, the things of God knoweth no man, but the Spirit of God. Verse 12, and it says, now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit of God, which is of God, that we might know the things that are freely given to us of God. So then this is the key right here. It says, which things also we speak, not in the words which man wisdom teaches, but by the Holy Ghost teaches, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. So the spirit of God knoweth and searcheth all things. We know that the wisdom of the world is foolishness to God. So we shouldn't be going after man's worldly wisdom. We all should be seeking to receive what the separated body teaches. All right. I know I said a mouthful. I just want to check, just to make sure everybody's walking along or everybody's okay thus far. Everybody's good. Uh, pressed for time. So I'm just going to be just rolling through. So we're going to be looking at the last section here. We're going to be looking at Wisdom of Solomon 16. Wisdom of Solomon 16 and 20. Wisdom of Solomon 16 and 20. And it says, instead whereof thou feedest thy own people with angels' food. See, we've been talking about food this whole time, right? So, with this angel food, and didst send them from heaven, bread prepared without their labor, able to content every man's delight, and agreeing to every taste. So, with the knowledge, they experience, every learner becomes satisfied, and every learner who went out to gather a fresh omer every day, the knowledge from heavenly realm is their delight. And we know this word delight, we looked at it in a keyword spiritual dictionary, how the word is moving and function as, pleasant, content, or pleasure. And we also jump down to verse 21. It says, for the substance declare thy sweetness unto thy children, and serving to their appetite, to the eater, right? Tempered itself to every man's liking. And I just want to give some understanding of this. We're going to go to Nehemiah. Nehemiah And we go hit 9, just to give some understanding on this. 9 and 21. And it reads, it says, Yea, 40 years didst thou sustain them in the wilderness, so that they lack nothing. Their clothes wax not old, and their feet swell not. Right? We also gonna just tie in Exodus real quick. Exodus chapter 16, and we're gonna hit 17 and 18. And it says, And the children of Israel did so, and gathered some more and some less. Verse 18, and when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. So according to his learning. So to give more clarity on this, we see here that as we go out every day getting our measure, our talent, that gifting from Jehovah, that is to sustain us, this knowledge pouring down from the spiritual realm, we must be content even when we gather little or much. You lack nothing, right? It all has to do with every male or female according to his or her learning and ability. This is what we must have pleasure in, learning and gaining wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Jehovah. Now, I just want to make sure, I just want to reiterate certain things, certain key points in this lesson because, my thing is, guys, I really don't want to be speaking over no one's heads. And I want to make sure when we leave this lesson, we can what we can, take something from this lesson and make the necessary changes that we need to. So that's why sometimes I repeat. Yeah, so that is why, I might repeat certain things. You might, why is this guy repeating everything over and over? I really just want to make sure you guys are able to understand and comprehend what's going on. All right. So that's why, I might say things over and over. All right. So we closing it down. So carnally, again, I just want to reiterate. So carnally, again, the manna was a physical substance that appears on the ground like frost, which the Israelites gathered, ground, and baked into literal cakes to stop their physical stomachs from starving in a literal desert. The carnal mind seeks physical provision and material blessing as primary signs of Jehovah's favor. Now, spiritually, manna is the knowledge from heaven. Manna is the knowledge from heaven, the angel's foods, that substance, the inner man. And that bread is the doctrine and wisdom of Jehovah. The wilderness is the state of mind when it has been stripped of worldly philosophies and carnal comforts. In this barren place, the soul must be fed directly from the heaven of the spiritual realm, receiving daily revelation that cannot be stored up or hoarded by human efforts. Now, carnally, the carnal mind despises this physical bread, eventually crying out for leeks, onions, and flesh pots of Egypt, the heavy toxic doctrine of the world. But the spiritual mind understand that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Jehovah. This heavenly doctrine must be gathered fresh every morning, right? Yesterday's revelation will breed worms of pride and stagnation if rely upon for today's journey. All right, I know I said a mouthful, but you know, I hope you guys just meditate on it, see what you can take from it and how to apply in your lives. Right. So we're gonna be looking at uh the similitude. Hello, Jonathan, please bear with me. All right. So the similitude is so a man trapped in a dark cave cannot survive by eating the rocks around him. No matter how hard he chews, he must receive a lifeline of pure oxygen and nutrients dropped down from the surface above. Now, this is key to understand the similitude. The key is the world is the cave, the carnal philosophy is the rock, the manna is the lifeline of truth dropped from the higher realm of the spirit. All right. I know I hope you guys are able to just meditate on it as we go out and see what is it that we need to meet the necessary changes. All right. Now we're going to be looking at the parable. And this parable, give me 1 second. Let me see if I see it. All right. It's up. Cool. So we see here Jehovah spake this parable. I hope you guys can see it pretty good. So Jehovah spake this parable. Hear now a dark speech of the kingdom. A master led his students into a barren desert to teach them the mysteries of the stars. You can see that over here, right? And after 3 days, the students cried out, "We are starving. Give us the heavy meats of the city." The master pointed to the morning dew and said, "Eat of this light bread, for it will sustain your bodies without clouding your minds." Those who ate the light bread found their eyes open to the heavens, and they understood the stars. And see, those who refused, they hunt for desert rats, right? They hunt desert rats, became heavy, and you see them, they fell asleep and missed the revelation. So this is the key to understanding this parable. It says the carnal mind craves the heavy doctrines of the world that puts the spirit to sleep. However, but the spiritual mind feeds on the light manna of heavenly knowledge to keep its vision clear. All right. No, I said a mouthful, but I hope you guys are able to just meditate in as we go through, right? So as we go through this journey, we passing through this wilderness. The spirit of Jehovah should be leading and guiding us. So at the end, we may receive eternal life. We say we are to live a lifestyle that is pleasing in the sight of Jehovah. Daily, we are to be eating. So daily, we are to be learning and getting our armor daily, for it will sustain and nourish our soul. Our soul it must be fed directly from the spiritual realm, receiving daily revelation. So before we go out, I just want to read this meditation. And this is something for each and every one of us to do a self-check, right? We're not supposed to be looking at what they got going on over here, or that person going on over there, we have to start with ourselves, right? So we have to ask ourselves, am I gathering the fresh manna? Am I gathering the fresh manna of Jehovah's doctrine daily, right? Don't be sitting here lying and say, yeah, 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 you are, and really you're not, right? So you got to be truthful and honest with yourself. Again, am I gathering the fresh manna of Jehovah's doctrine daily? Or am I longing for the heavy, toxic philosophies of this world to satisfy my spiritual hunger? Right? And we know, keep in mind, anything that is toxic is no good. So you keep that in mind. I know I'm kind of pressed for time here, but I also hope that I hope that you guys gain some understanding from this lesson and that we learn from it to make the necessary changes in our lives on this journey. You know, next up we have Elder Jonathan coming in. So I hope you guys are able to come back and tune in for his lesson, right? And Elder Jonathan, yeah, bear with me, brother. So thank you for joining me today. Again, I'm Deacon Sheldon, and this cat got me with the King James Bible University. And I just want to say shalom to you all right? Shalom, shalom, everyone. Hey, shalom, shalom, Elder. Hey, I know I was pressed for time. I know I was pressed for time. Okay, okay, okay. No, man, I was just making sure I don't go over. Uh, okay, 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 okay. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, man. All right, all right, all right. Yeah, man. Yeah. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Yeah, we good. All right, keep. Oh, hold on. Why are some people calling me? Oh, hold on 1 second. Oh my goodness. Hold on 1 second.